of 2022. It's been a lot of fun. I've had a good time. I've had to study really hard, make sure what I'm giving you is something that is well researched and also beneficial to your life in a way that you could grow, evolve spiritually while you're making good life choices. And that's a little bit about what the class is today, the opportunity to use all of our information in a way that our life becomes more fulfilling to us, more understandable to us. All right. Spirit communication doesn't have to end or shouldn't end when Halloween ends and the 2 days of the following, the Day of the Saints, Day of the Dead. You know, this is a time where we're told that, well, the spirits are free to walk earth and they can be with us. They visit us. Some we don't want to visit them. Some are family and friends that we want to have come visit us. But it doesn't end. Well, it doesn't certainly end for people like myself. And also people, the mediums that are here, it's not going to end for them either. It goes on. And you can do this if you really want to talk to the spirits of your loved ones that have gone on. Now, you know, it's been throughout human history, the way that people are able to cope with death. When a loved one and somebody very close to us, somebody in our life, and they leave, that we could continue to communicate with them. We believe we can communicate with them. And this is almost everybody has an experience where they either believe they did, imagine they did, or actually know that they were communicating with spirits. Not only spirits of loved ones that have went into spirit recently, but also those that have gone long before us, those that we've heard from, say our parents, or somebody else in the family. You know, after all, our ancestors are our bloodline. They are our family. We are part of them. Not only part of them in the physical way, which we're going to talk about, but part of them in their experiences and what occurred in their life and what they did and sacrificed to become part of our world today and for the generations to come. And this is called ancestor worshiping or honoring of ancestors. Now, you may have a particular ritual that you have done over a period, maybe on the anniversary death of a loved one. Perhaps one of your parents would stop and say, you know, this is the day grandma died or grandpa died or whatever. Let's honor them. I mean, we just have Veterans Day where many people will remember those that went on. You may have some sort of ritual, a way of honoring and respecting, worshiping those that have gone on, ancestors. And that's including, you know, we don't really necessarily think of those that died recently, like our parents or our siblings or a good friend. How could they be ancestors? Well, they've gone before you. They were before you, so they are your ancestors. At some point, there will be your family's ancestors. You'll be your family's ancestor at some point. There's something very special about remember our loved ones that have gone on. It is a part of respect. It's a part of honoring them and their life and what they give you. You know, now that we have celebration of life, and it's beautiful the way it's done, being happy and being joyful. So let's start our evening here on this talk. Let's begin with a little reflective time. Just take a few deep breaths. We're going to relax just a moment to relax. You can either close your eyes, or if you have lit a candle, you can look at it. You don't have to close your eyes, but let's just stop and relax. And these breaths are easy breaths. You don't have to do anything, you know, to bring it so deeply into you. We're not going that deep. It's more of a reflective time. And say to yourself, you can say it silently, you can say it out loud because you're muted. I'm not going to hear you, but I know that you want to say this. I call in the spirits of my ancestors to learn more about them and my own life, to know how they lived and what they gave me, to make my life a better one than they had. Again, I call in the spirits of my ancestors to learn more about them and my own life, to know how they lived and what they gave me to make my life better. In honor of them, I give gratitude, how they contributed to my life. And this is a nice time that you might want to call out their name. I give gratitude to. And feel that from your heart, that you truly are giving gratitude to those that went on before you. Did you feel that? Did you feel from your heart that connection? Did you sense that perhaps that you really will and can connect to your spirit of loved ones? Maybe you want to know something about a particular relative that you didn't know, but you heard about. This very well could come through this evening. And then we ask ourselves, why do we talk to them? What is it we want from them? What do we want to know? What do we want to be connected to? You know, of course, we don't want to keep our loved ones and spirits busy in our life all the time. I mean, that's not the purpose of it. It is not that we're calling on them for every little thing that happens. One day, somebody insulted you, so you call on your ancestors and say, oh my God, what am I going to do with these insults? Help me fix them, make that person stop. No, that isn't the idea. That's not what we're doing. Ancestor veneration is historically found in beliefs and practices in almost all cultures and religions throughout the world. Just recently, I was watching a program, Secrets of the Dead, and I saw that there had been a research, which they had founded is in BCE in Egypt. They had a whole ritual of honoring their ancestors. And so it carried on through all cultures, all races, almost all, I will say all, but everything I've read is there's many, 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 which I can't go through them all. So if you're really interested in that, look at that. And what they wanted to do is that they wanted to remember who they were and how they had grown, the people nowadays, and before us, in honoring and worshiping. Now, in China, in Buddhism, they worship by bringing alms. You know, they bring food, they bring flowers, they bring money, they bring to their ancestors, they pray, they light incense. During the time of Samhain, which is in Scotland, when summer ended and August came and people had fairs and had food and started getting ready for the winter, at a certain time called All Hallows Eve, that's when they believed the veils dropped, and that went on. It went on a lot longer than we celebrate, by the way. It went on for a while. In Wales, the last day of summer, they knew that the spirits came. In an ancient Filipino religion, spirits called Anito. They were the spirits of the ancestors that influenced the lives of the living. And of course, Mexico. Mexico is one of the most well-known celebration and honoring of ancestors that influence the life of the living, the Day of the Dead we called, and it just spread out all over. So there's a great awakening that's happening, that we are really connected much more than in the three-dimensional space, in the physical space. And why are people so interested right now? You know, what is really going on? Well, so many of us think that this is a terrible time, you know, but we as humans, there are some of us that are evolving, and we're evolving much further intellectually. I know it would be a surprise, right? With some things going on, that we're intellectually evolving, spiritually, intellectually evolving. The veneration of saints in Catholicism, it's also an ancestral worship. It's when you're a Catholic, you go to church, you light a candle, or in your home, you have altars, like Sherry talked about having an altar. And the Catholics celebrate the day after Halloween called All Saints Day. Now, I know there are people that don't know that. They think that the day November 1st is All Souls Day, but in Catholicism, it's All Saints Day. So they're honoring all the sacred people that went on. So I guess all us sinners aren't really honored that much, but all the saints. And I remember as a young Catholic girl from Catholic school, I would read all about the different saints, Saint Teresa, the little flower, Saint Christopher to help you travel. And my very favorite saint to this day is Saint Anthony, because, oh, thank God for Saint Anthony. He finds just about everything I lose. I think by now, though, he's fed up on me because I call on him a lot. See what I mean? A little too much. A little too much. So it is ingrained in religions. It's ingrained in Buddhism, which is a philosophy, but religiously practiced. Maybe one of you are descended from a saint. And, it's not just saints. In some of the other religious practice, like the goddess religion or some of the other Hinduism, they have their holy people too. And I believe what I'm saying to you is it is part of our whole existence, the worshiping and honoring of those that went before us, because they are not only in our bloodline, but we can learn so much about ourselves from them. Getting to know yourself outside of what your family told you. And so now we're going to go and look at DNA, metaphysics. How are we connected to our ancestors? Scientifically, how are we connected? An enormous, wonderful study and research is going on. And that is very much proving with DNA and how much they're progressing, what physically, what do you have in you? You have hair coloring, you have eye coloring, you have skin coloring. They're able to look at features from DNA. They can actually now, through computer help, show what a person would look like, their facial features. They would show what kind of body type they had. They're even beginning to realize through DNA how they can tell a person's characteristics. Is the person aggressive? Is the person shy? Is the person more intellectually based? When I first saw DNA, my introduction to DNA was in 1990. I didn't know about DNA. I don't think most of us knew about DNA. I was sitting down in Florida visiting a friend, and I was sitting in a window seat. The sun was coming in, she was out. I was between awake and asleep, just kind of drifting. And in front of me was, as what you're seeing right here, strands and strands of these colors, and they were twirling and moving. Now, I wasn't fully asleep, and there was nothing I had taken to provoke this. I was in awe. It was absolutely beautiful. Colored strands moving and twirling in front of me. I didn't know, and then I heard a voice say, "This is your DNA. This is who you are. You will know more about this in time to come." I didn't know what that meant. I had no idea. This is 1990. I didn't talk about it really for years to anybody, just like my NDE experiences, my near-death thing. I didn't talk about it because I didn't understand it. I didn't know what it was. But in time, the world started looking and using DNA, usually in, mystery murder cases and like that. Before even we started sending in our, saliva to get DNA. I offered it to some of my clients. I offered it to clients. Would you like me to read your DNA? And I could tell you about your history, and I could tell you about your health, because certainly your health is there. That's one of the things that you want to know. You want to know about your history, health within your family. It's a good thing to know. It can get you prepared. So in that scientific way, we can know about our health. We can know about our personalities. We can, why are we like this? What is our makeup? Who am I? What am I made up of? And when I offered clients that, very few took it up on me, but I really wanted to go further. So I had very few clients that wanted a DNA. One was a woman that repeatedly had stomach problems. There were no stomach problems in her family that she knew of. She asked everybody, nothing. So I read her DNA, and I found that it actually was on her paternal side, and it was connected to a great grandmother. I offered her some suggestions. Psychically had picked up what would work for her, and she began to practice them. She literally changed her own self. She was changing her DNA by making changes in her diet and her psychological outlook on life, how she dealt with stress. There was another person that I met, And she was talking about, oh, I have to drink more water. I don't drink enough water. And I have picked up again from her DNA, looking at it, that psychically, her ancestors had lived in a place in a country in Europe, and the water that they drank was poisonous. So the family just said, oh, don't drink that water. And little by little, through the generations, like, well, water, we don't really like water. These are just a very few examples. Another example is that I read for a woman, we found out that there was actually mental illness in the family. And so on and on, mental illness and post-traumatic stress, these are something that are more current. And current meaning, know about the more current in the last few decades, accepted. So that's scientifically. Also scientifically, and this is really very interesting that I know most of us have had, is that family trauma. How do we heal from family trauma? Now, it's kind of difficult when you think about family trauma. It's not considered yet. There are some scientists who really don't believe about the trauma that is seen within genes, and that's where we're going to go with this, and some who say it isn't in the DNA, but I guarantee you in time they're going to show that it is all part of the DNA. Family traumas that happen in your bloodline, this could be centuries old. Family traumas that dealt with abuse, even being abusive or being abused. Family traumas that came from war, that came from race prejudice, family traumas that came from lack of food, starvation. What happens, how people deal with trauma, is when you deal with trauma too, this legacy that's in your family, your genes mutate. Now, this is really interesting. When you have trauma and your ancestors had trauma, their genes mutated. They weren't getting the right vitamins. They weren't getting what they needed. Chemicals. It became a chemical imbalance in their brain from the psychological, emotional, mental, physical trauma. And I guarantee you, like myself, some of you are carrying that forward. And you may say in your life, I don't know why. I don't know why. I just have to be careful around every corner. I feel like I have to be warned. I'm warning myself all the time. Be careful. Something's out there. Or for me, it's my temper. Anybody that really knows me knows I can fly off the handle. And I've been working on that and working and changing myself, changing my triggers, recognizing my triggers. So scientifically, there are reasons to who you are, passed on through your lineage. This way you can understand your parents better, your siblings more. You can look at them differently. You can say, Mom was great. She was really creative. She was always up. I'm glad I have that part of her. But also, I'm like my father, who was very depressed. Life didn't turn out for him. His work, he felt like he failed. Now, if we really look at father, we'll find that most likely in his family history, there was great struggle in taking care of their family. And someone that I mentioned this to said, oh my God, you're right. You're right. My father, as family, from my mother, she told me how much they were in the Depression, and before that, coming over from Europe, how poor they were, how they are. So it can pass on. You're both parents, you have both DNA, and all of that will show up. It will be genetically in you. So it gives you an answer. And this will help as we move along in this talk, as we get more into our metaphysical, spiritual aspect of it. Metaphysical. Metaphysics is a type of philosophy or study, and it's generally think of to explain, the universal, the inherent. Why are we here? Have you ever said to yourself, who really am I? I mean, I did when I started deeply looking into my spiritual self. Who really am I? I used to say, when I looked around my 7 siblings and my parents, I used to say, I don't belong in this family. I must have been a princess somewhere. My real parents are waiting for me. But so metaphysically, looking at your ancestors by studying yourself, that's the beginning. You study yourself. You ask, who am I? Why am I here? Do I really connect to universal flow? Am I part of something bigger? And once you begin that study, you can look at those that have passed before you in a very different way. And you can do that in a way where you begin again to understand and forgive. Because as you understand yourself, you begin to forgive aspects. Well, hopefully you do. Why do I always feel I have to be on the alert with everybody? I can't trust them. You're going to find it in the messages from your parents. They got it from the messages of their parents down the line. So you know about yourself because you have recognized science as part, your cells, your DNA, all part of who you are. Metaphysically, spend time answering questions. Why am I here? What am I to do? What is my purpose? Am I part of a bigger system? Well, yeah, you're part of the web of your family's life. Think of that. You are part of the web of your family's life. Spiritually, then I am going to evolve. I am no longer going to carry forward that what is not working for me in my life that promotes a feeling of peace, that promotes a feeling of love for humanity, that promotes a feeling of my purpose. Why am I here? They all come together. It's just a really beautiful way and a most useful way of communicating with yourself. And once you do that, you will open yourself to communicating with spirits so much easier. Now, there are people that are mediums and it does flow through them. I've met all kinds of readers and mediums in my near 50 years of doing this. They are not necessarily walking a spiritual path from my observation of them, which is okay. It took me time to evolve too. So how do you evolve? How do you change? By knowing where you came from, by communicating with spirits. We'll look at the family tree holds many stories. Really helped me find my family stories. I had heard family stories. What about you? You have a list. I asked you to have a list of your ancestors, the spirits that perhaps just recently passed away in your lifetime. Perhaps you've added people like your grandmother, grandfather, that you've heard stories about. Your biological mother, your biological father, grandparents, uncles, your aunts. Maybe you have them on your list. What I'd like you to do now is really bring up 2 or 3 from your list. Prioritize them is what I'm asking you to do. And write their names now. So go ahead and do that. Turn off the video and come back when you've completed. So you have probably a list of ancestors as far back as you can remember. Now, creating your family story. Why is this part of what we're talking about? Tonight, again, connecting with ancestors. When you create a family story through photos or a collage, pictures gathered from magazine or the internet, not everybody has their lineage. They don't have all of their different family. I have some actually from the late 1800s and very late 1800s in the beginning of the 20th century. But you can make your own story. Who were your ancestors? At some point, the majority of us here, our ancestors came from Europe or from the East, from China or the Philippines, from Japan, from Korea, any other place. So if you don't have that, create a story. You can create your images through the written word. Some of you might want to be, you do well with writing like I do. I could see my Scottish ancestor. Oh, he's so big and broad, and there he is with a big sword fighting off the English. Actually, in my paternal side of of my family, man, this is probably why I am so feisty. We actually have professional boxers. One of my great grandfathers, great came to the United States in the early 1900s for a big boxing match for a well-known boxer here in San Francisco. So that was fun. And I have pictures of my boxing. My father was an amateur boxer and taught us. So where did I get my determination, my feistiness? Now I know part of me. How do I want to use it? Use your imagination. Genealogy information. It's very different nowadays. We can get online, ancestors.com and all the rest of them. And I get all kinds of notice from one line, I forget the name of it, Heritage, My Heritage. You're connected to your 3rd cousin, your 5th cousin, and like that. And I've actually met a cousin in Canada from my father's side of the family that remembered as well. I was too young when I left and came to this country. How do you think it was for your family to come to this country? How hard do you think it was? What was their life like in Europe or Asia? If you really know history, if you really look at history, you will see how bloody hard life really was. People starving, people living in little mud houses, their farms being taken from them, wars constantly. And if you're Jewish, how bad it was through centuries after century. So not tonight, you won't be, but in time, you'll be writing down more information. Again, why am I encouraging this? Because the more you begin to know and feel your ancestors, the more you will be communicating, the more they will communicate with you. Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to create your family story and know them? What does it have to do about spirit communication? What is it about attracting? Remember, they are your family. You will want to know because you want to be able to heal your life. You want to be able to use all of the talents on that, finding your roots. And it really is about public figures. So it's actors and artists and, musicians, journalists that we know, everybody in the public eye. And they say, well, neither of my parents had it, or my grandmother was kind of, and then they look what's research and they find that a great grandparent or 3 or 4 times before that had the same talent that they had, that they inherited, though not in the recent relatives. So it's very interesting. And you invite them into your space to better your life, to give you greater insight, to really live fully your abilities, your talents, and your skills. And how do you communicate with them? Through prayer, meditation, reflection, research, and willingness. Yes, the willingness to create an opportunity. Louise Hay, and I'd like you to do this now. Louise Hay says that Louise Hay was a well-known, considered healer. She was a metaphysical healer, author, teacher. One of my very favorites to learn from. If you don't know about her, go ahead and research her. You'll find her information most useful. She assigns a lot of health or many health ailments with our psychological and spiritual outlook. But she says the last word there, willingness. Put your hand on your throat, and you don't have to know how, but to change anything in your life, how you think, how you feel, how you act, how is your physical body, and say out loud, because you're muted, I can't hear you, or to yourself, I am willing to change. Do that again. Feel your throat. Feel that. I am willing to change. One more time. I am willing to change. And just take your hand away. You don't have to know how you're going to change. The answer will present itself to you. It very well can be presented to you from loved ones and those in your family and your lineage, giving you signs to help you change. So you by now have prepared some sort of gathering of candle, any kind of candle. It could be electronic candle, electrical candle. Perhaps you have prepared food and drink, photos and journals. Why did I say about the water that you have? If you're using a real candle and you get into a deep meditation, in case something happens, you can always put out any flames that could happen. Me, I'm a big water drinker. I always have water with me at my altar. If you have not lit your candle, this is a really good time to be doing that. Just relax, take a few easy breaths. Relax, light your candle. Look at everything in front of you. If you have food, perhaps a favorite food of someone you love, maybe they just love bread and butter. Maybe they just loved a piece of chocolate, a glass of wine, a cup of coffee, a nice, refreshing. Look at all of that. I hope you see the beauty in that as I see the beauty in that. You are inviting your spirits to come. You are asking them, you have prepared for them, just like you would any guest. Set your intention. Now, again, you can do formal prayer. You could say before your intention, dear God, dear saint, somebody, dear Buddha, Allah. You could do it through prayer in that way. You can do it through casually. Hi, Mom. Hey, Grandma, Uncle Harry. But you're going to set your intention. And you're going to say, as you said earlier, I call in the spirits of my ancestors to learn more about them and my own life, to know how they live and what they gave me to make my life better. And now say your prayer. And in your prayer, you first have a greeting, a salutation. And if it is not a formal prayer, even in a casual like way, you still have that salutation. If you have a name, call out the name. Look at your list of 2 or 3. You can call out all of those. Show gratitude. Tell those you're calling in how much you appreciated them, what you've learned for them. Show gratitude. Thank you for being in my life. Thank you for teaching me and giving me confidence that I can overcome. Now, maybe for some of you, you are holding on to not necessarily very healthy relationship, the messages and the way you were treated. And I'm going to give you something that could be very difficult. And I understand this, but you're going to thank your ancestors for the difficulties they presented you to teach you how to evolve spiritually. Take a moment with that. The trauma that you may have had in your life from being abused, maybe one of your parents was abusive or they were abused, and you have fears around abuse, although you were not abused, but you still have fears genetically. Thank your ancestors for all of the wonderful and difficult experiences that they presented to you. Gratitude is an energetic flow coming from your words, your physical words, your mind, and it progresses and it really radiates vibrational wise to the universal flow. Showing a thank you has a tremendous energy. Thank you. And I like me, some of you probably do it every day. Greetings, greetings all, greetings the higher intelligence, greeting God, whatever you say. Thank you. And I go into that I can still somewhat see, somewhat hear, that I still have the energy to take walks. Very simple, little simple. Gratitude. Salutations, gratitude. Even casually. Hey, Mom, how you doing? Thank you for everything you gave me. I know you didn't need to have me feel so shy and you kept me shy. But what I learned is I want to live more. I want to get out. I'm going to find a way. Thank you for everything you gave me. And the next part, why are you connecting with them? What is your purpose? What do you want from them? I know you want something. Did you connect with them because you want to have solace? You want to heal your broken heart, your sorrow? Did you connect with them because you just want to know about your family history, medically, physically? Why did you connect with them? And I would like you to think about that and write it. Now, if you have two, 3 names, you might just want to say, I'm connecting with this one because. So take your time. What do you want from them? Do you want them to guide you with something? Is it with your education, with your professional life? Is it with a relationship? Is it to help booster a talent, an ability to do more? Is it with your money? Is it with your profession? Is it spiritually? Would you like to end some sort of karma within the family? What do you want from connecting to your ancestors? And again, that includes ones that have left your life even recently. If you have a loved one that passed, in the last year to decade, like that. What do you want from them? And so when you look at that and you connect with them, you end any communication with anybody by see you, goodbye. I am blessed that you came here. Cheerio for now. Amen. Blessed be, so mote it be. Make sure that you end your communication, because in ending this communication through prayer or a simple, easy conversation, you have now allowed yourself to go into the place of meditation and to reflect. Now you can do that, reflexation. You just sit back and say, I said what I had to say. You sit quietly in your beautiful space with your food and your drink and your candle and your photos and your notes. Just, you've done it. How do I know my ancestors hear me? This is why people like myself as a psychic reader and medium, why people come to me, because they're not able to hear messages or believe them. I think it's more believe that they've really made the connection. I myself, when my sister passed suddenly, I went to a medium. Oh, great message. Not right away, because you shouldn't do it right away. You should wait. And wow, great. So how do you know? Well, trust your ancestors hear you. Whether you spoke it out loud or you spoke it mentally, you spoke it with yourself, maybe in a dream, trust that they heard you. That indeed, they heard you. If you want some confirmation, ask for a sign. Maybe your sign would be, oh, I wish you'd come and tell me, should I take that dance class? And suddenly, all of a sudden, a friend or a flyer or something comes up, here, the flamingo. And you think, oh my God, my ancestors were from Spain. Go take that class. It can be how you observe yourself. Most of us don't look at very subtle changes within ourself and our viewpoint of life. We don't see those changes because we're not paying attention. We're so worried either about the past or the future. When you meditate and spend quiet time, you see things. It can be as simple as you find out that trigger that used to get you going when your sister just would say, well, you know how you are. Then all of a sudden you go, you know what? I'm not going to buy into that. And you think, oh my God, I've changed. So it could be very subtle, very slow over time. And that means that your ancestors are working with you. You're doing your work. Family members, you might notice that you actually, through the study of ancestors, there's a shift in your living family, that you understand your siblings more so. Oh, you understand a parent more so, a cousin, an aunt, you understand. And you karmically have changed yourself, and you karmically have offered the opportunity for other people to also spiritually evolve. It's pretty heavy, huh? Pretty deep, how this can actually work, connecting with your ancestors. Now, here's a story that I just heard off of a astrologer friend of mine. I saw her on Instagram. She said, she shared a story, and her story was, she ran into a cousin she never knew she had. Her family had split up. It was pretty fractured. And she ran into a cousin. The cousin was just like her. She was a musician. She was into astrology. She was into reading. She never met this cousin. And they were really like twins. You see how that in that family? And so they got together, and no doubt through their union, there'll be other family members that will start to open up, meet each other, or spend time. That's how powerful all of this can be if you follow through. Winter dreams. Now, I called this ancestor gratitude and winter dreams. And why did I do that? Winter is considered a very powerful time to actually, because of the long, dark, cold nights, we tend to sleep deeper. And some nights we just sleep deeper. We go to bed. We want to get cozy, and we go into these deep sleeps times. Dreaming is an amazing thing, and scientists are finding out more and more how amazing dreams are. When we sleep and dream, we are in altered state of consciousness, and researchers say that everyone dreams, including dogs and cats and all other animals. Everybody dreams. Although we often have trouble remembering our dreams, and we're going to look at how you can remember the dreams, we can really access our past. We can look into where we were. We can also begin to dream when it's called winter dreams, springtime manifestations. We can begin to manifest what we want to achieve. Don't wait till January 1st and make all those resolutions and all those goals. You begin your dreams now. Buffer up those goals. Support your resolutions through your dreams, and connect with spirits. One of the easiest ways of connecting to spirit is through dreams for most of you. Not necessarily for we mediums, but certainly, and I've done it. I've connected. I just recently had a dream of my mother. I was wondering, did I do enough? Did I take care of her enough? All of that guilt part. Though she has been gone since 2016, it comes up. And she came in my dream, and she just was glorious looking. She was laughing. She was at lunch. She looked at me. She kind of winked. Yeah, I've had a great time. So dreams. They remain the fundamental mystery how they work. But brain scientists and psychologists are saying that it is really real how your dreams affect your life and what can happen. The winter months are very important. I want to remind you of that again. This is a great time to be connecting with spirits through your deep sleep and manifesting your springtime goals, your life. So memory for dreams is very limited and largely restricted to a period just before awakening. And the only way to really remember a dream is to immediately recall it when you wake up. What you can do is keep a pencil and a pad of paper by your bed, because I say pencil because you're usually writing like this, laying down, and a pen will just lose the ink. And just note, if you don't remember all of the dream, it's okay, but note some of the key things. Where was I? Who was there? What was I doing? What kind of action was taking place? What symbol was in there? It's a great way, because spirits talk in symbolism more than they speak in words. Honestly, we mediums get symbols and images, and then we translate them into words for you, because that's how we understand things, right? It's through words. So note your images, your colors, your symbolisms, who was there, what was going on. And at the very end of your dream, how did you feel? That's really important. Really important. So write it down. You can also tell yourself before you go to bed tonight, and I imagine you'll let me know, I would think, tell yourself that you are going to connect to one of your 3 spirits that you wrote down, that you're going to be communicating with that spirit. You can actually put your list or your photograph. I would put a photograph there of a spirit or some spirits I wanted by your bed, your little side, nightstand, or up in your dressing table. Maybe it faces where you sleep. You can put it there. I don't know, but I don't sleep well with the candle. I keep waking up with the candle burning. So, but that's up to you. You might like doing that. You tell yourself before you go to sleep, what are you going to dream about? I use this when my father died, and we had a lot of differences, a lot of unhealed, unspoken abuse on his end toward his children, toward me. And so I use my dream to heal and connect with him and karmically understand him and understand where he was coming from. It worked, but I did it for about 2 years, by the way. I did my own little group therapy with my spirits at night. You can do this. It works. And also in creating your future, write down, what would you like in 2023? What do you want differently in your life? Write that down. What do you want differently? Don't make it a long list. Oh, I want more money. I want a better job. I want to have a great love life. I want to have a travel. Just pick one for now. Our resolutions, right? What do you want to create? "2023, I am creating this in my life." Maybe it's an ongoing thing. You haven't truly satisfied it. You can add that. And then when you go to sleep, you tell yourself, you're going to see it, you're going to know it, you're going to understand the steps you have to take to achieve it. These are 2 wonderful things. That's why I wanted to include winter dreams. Perfect time of the year. And like